Coming up next, from San Fran Freak Show, the Savage Nation, from Talk 910 KNEW.
On the air, online, and on the go, this is Talk 910 KNEW.
Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, the Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
Savage Nation, Rock and Roll Friday. Any topic is fair game. From impressionist art. I've heard of the phrase shock jock. I've come up with a new phrase. Maybe you can help me perfect it. The British snots who put me on a list with murderers and terrorists, I'm calling them shock pals. That doesn't work, though, because shock jock works together, obvious, the iambic pentameter and all that. And there's simple rhyming. But what would rhyme with, well, we want to use the word shock in reference to a politician that does something shocking. Whatever. It's open mic to mic. Any topic is fair game. I could talk about a boxing match I witnessed last night on Showtime, and I will. I was watching an amazing fight last night between a guy named Arthur Abraham. It was out of Munich, Germany. And Arthur Abraham is middleweight champion of one of the leagues. And he looks like Putin. It's amazing how closely he resembles Putin. He fights in a very interesting style. And he was fighting a Turkish man named Mahir Oral. Mahir Oral is movie star handsome, tall, lean. And they were actually engaged in a pretty brutal fight, but very civilized. Now, listen to what I'm getting at. This was a very civilized fight. I know there are leftists out there who say that boxing is brutish and should be banned, but they forget that boxing has rules. They forget that the referee actually stops the fighting when someone makes a low blow or a boxer gets too hurt. It's a fight, but it's a fight with civilized limits. And that's one of the fundamental elements of Western civilization. That's why it's called Western civilization. We're human beings. We fight, we argue, but we have rules for doing it. In fact, the rules for boxing were developed in England in the 1860s and were called the Marquis of Queensberry Rules, after the noblemen who endorsed them. You see, in that era, the British had civilized limits on their sports, on their media, and their society, and certainly on their governmental officials. But today, there are no limits. No limits on the media, which is free to broadcast the most far-left rubbish imaginable, such as Obama calling anybody who disagrees with his attempt to hijack the healthcare system enemies of the state, liars, and things of that nature. No limits on society, as you can see from the drunken sluts that stumble around Sunset Boulevard. And no limits on government anymore in what they will do to destroy their opposition. And that's why I like to watch boxing. But that fight between Arthur Abraham and Mahir Oral was interesting to me for a couple of reasons. And I'll tell you one of them. Arthur Abraham is very powerful. Oral is very good-looking, as I said, tremendous physique, but didn't have the same power in his punches as Abraham. And so towards the 10th round of I think it was a 12 or 15 round title fight, Abraham knocked Oral down twice or three times, and the referee was very, very touching. I saw him say to the man who had been knocked down, "I can't let you take much more punishment. If you go down one more time, I'm going to have to stop it. Are you okay?" And of course, Oral's a fighter, as a warrior. He said yes. He goes back, and Abraham gets another shot across the head, knocks him down on his knees. Oral comes back up from the 8 count and wants to continue fighting, and Abraham, with his left hand, stops the other guy with his right hand, holds his hand up and says no, and points to his own corner, the opponent's corner, and says they want the fight stopped. Now, I've seen fights where a boxer would never have done that. Abraham would have devastated the other guy while he was weak, just to destroy him, to break his jaw, to see him hurt, to see him bleed. He didn't do that. That's sportsmanship. I only wish the Democrats behaved the same way that the boxers do in this that Abraham did in this fight. But unfortunately, we have a vicious Democrat regime right now that does not only not follow the Marquess of Queensberry rules, but they have no concept what the rules are. That's my opening. Play some music for me. We'll take the callers on any topic. 1-800-449. Wonder who. Ba-doo. I like this. Well, let's see. The Cadillac's in the garage again, because I drove it once this year, and it... No, it's a great car, but when they sit around, it's a 65 Caddy, 55,000 miles. I took it out on a hot day 3 weeks ago, and I smelled gas. It wouldn't stop. So I took it into the garage, and they found that the gas tank's leaking. Now they have to send it out, and pipes coming out of the tank. Whatever. I like new cars. New is good, but nothing rides like the 65 Caddy. It's like a baby carriage. Wide track. Remember the era of the wide track, 1965, when the chrome was thick and the women were straight? Remember what America was like? The glass on this car is, I can't give you the millimeters, it's thicker than a new Mercedes 600. Unbelievable. You want to do it, health insurance? All right, fine. I'll give you health. Everyone health. Give me 20 prescriptions and crutches and a wheelchair. Give me everything I don't need, and I want it, I'll sue you. What a nation of imbeciles. Everybody's been convinced that they're sick and they need drugs. Whatever happened to self-reliance? Whatever happened to self-control? Whatever happened to preventative maintenance on a human being as well as on a car? Most of us take care of our cars better than we do our children. The things you put into your child's mouth, you wouldn't put into your cat. Artificial colors, artificial flavors, sugar. You wouldn't do that to your dog or cat, but you don't think twice about doing it to your child, do you? Then you wonder why Johnny can't focus. Johnny can't focus because you're making him into a drug addict with what you're feeding him. All right, I've said this before. It's not gone through anyone's head. You know something, 15 years in the radio, I have learned certain things. I'm going through a lot of searching, soul searching, not self-doubt. I've always had self-doubt in my life. That's what's kept me sane and kept me an honest man. But I've not been as soul-searching as I've been recently, because I realize that what I'm going through now with the Banned in Britain thing is an epic battle, and it's my last battle. It's the biggest battle of my life. It'll be my last battle, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to win one way or the other, but I may not. In other words, it's good to have hubris, it's good to have confidence, but a man fighting a government, when you have a government as, let us say, intractable as the Labour government is in England today, who fights not by the Marquess of Queensberry rules, but by the rules of the Third Reich in how they smear people. I mean, they released the Lockerbie bomber, a man who killed 250 people, and they sent him home for compassionate reasons and merciful reasons. And me, they put on a list with murderers and terrorists to balance the list out so the Muslim terrorists don't feel bad. So that's what I'm facing. But I'm saying, I'm going through this analysis of myself, and I'm saying, well, what have you learned in all the years you've been on the radio? You've been on the air 15 years. You've said everything you really believe, and you say it forcefully, you say it succinctly, and you say it with belief, and the people love you, and they've rewarded you, they listen to you, they buy your books. What have you learned, though? I learned that you can be very truthful, and you could also lose. I've learned that being direct and blunt and truthful is not only the best way to get what you want. I have learned that if I were more devious, I might have gotten more out of this career and more out of this situation. But I can't be any other way. This is it. A, I'm an Aries. B, I am who I am. C, I was raised the way I was raised. D, I had the background that I had being born in the Bronx to relatively poor people and having to come up the hard way. So I can only be the way I am. I can't be a clever, wise guy from a private school who learned how to screw people over by duplicitousness. I can't do it. Perhaps I should have learned younger how to give people a double talk like an average San Franciscan who smiles to your face and puts a knife in your back. You know, the kind of gentlemanly approach that you see all over the city. I noticed from the day I got here in 1974, full of ex-hippies that give you a big smile up front with the hand out, and behind them they have a hand with a knife in it. You know, A2 Brutus. So you got to be very, very guarded with people who are very nice, because often, what do I have to tell you, what you don't know already? Like the guy who sold fake art on Union Square, who just got caught selling fake Miro prints. The whole city is Queen Anne front and Mary Ann behind. The entire city is filled with houses that are gorgeous from the front, but they're all stage sets. When I first got here, there was a gay realtor I knew, a really nice guy, and he laughingly said to me, oh, yes, he said, the city's filled with houses that have Queen Anne fronts and Mary Ann behinds, which I thought was hilariously funny, but it was socially very apt. I mean, it actually said it like it is. And that's San Francisco. It's all one giant stage set full of crap. And that's who Nancy Pelosi is, in my opinion. She is the richest woman in the Congress, and she acts as though she's on the side of the poor. Obama acts like he's Robin Hood, out to rob from the rich to give to the poor. We find out that his chief of staff and his other friends from Chicago are making millions of dollars from companies that they left behind that their children are in, and you fall for this, huh? Well, then I have a good Queen Anne front, Mary Ann behind house for sale, and a fake Miro print. Meet me on Union Square at 10 o'clock tonight. I'm Michael Savage. I'll be right back.